Okay, we'll get the meeting started. Thanks everybody for coming here today. Happy New Year. 2019 is here. And we will get the meeting started by calling the meeting to order. Roll call, please. Here. Dave's on his way. He had car trouble, so he'll be here as soon as he can get there.
Here. Here.
As always, we have invocation. Our spiritual advisor is not here today, so we have a moment of silence in lieu of that. Which, thank you.
We'll shut that door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Approval of the agenda.
Have a couple items to remove. First one is the Alex Mehne with the timber harvest plan. You asked if we push that back to the next meeting.
Okay.
We have the next one with Rick Anderson in Fortune Bay with a gambling permit. They actually don't have the permit yet, so they want to push that back to the next meeting.
Okay.
The next one is Donna Hoffer with her trading proposal. I don't know, we can either table that or we can just take it off the agenda until after we have more clarification of how the government shutdown is going to impact us, or whenever the government shutdown is over.
Okay, I think once we know the outcome of the government shutdown, we can just add it back onto the agenda then.
So I have those three for removals.
Okay, Corey, I'd like to add the government shutdown as an item, and then also the annual report to the tribal members from the tribal government.
Okay.
Any other additions or deletions?
No.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda with those corrections and additions or deletions?
Move.
Moved by Travis. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Shane. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Meeting minutes from a special meeting of the RTC held December 19th at Net Lake.
I would like to point out on a second page, toward the middle, it says moved by Peter Boney, second by Shane Swift to approve the $2,500 donation to the Virginia School Indian Education Program. Winter Indigenous Games to be held February 2nd, 2019 at the Virginia School District. I also stated that so long it's in the budget.
Okay.
And then after the meeting, I did send an email out asking, I had a question regarding consultant. There was something in it regarding consultant fees. And I sent an email out, and then Corey was waiting for a message back from the school district or whatever regarding that. Have we heard anything, Corey?
I have not heard anything back from the Virginia School back on that, on their Indigenous Games and what the consultant fees. I'm guessing it's for the people that are putting on the instruction, maybe for the whatever events they're having. I don't know. All we had was the request that came forward, and it just that was one of the items that was listed in there was for the consultant fees.
I think that it would be nice to hear from them to exactly what they're going to be using the money for, regarding the consultant fees.
Maybe a budget breakdown.
Yeah, for something from them at least.
else with regards to the minutes? Now I'll call for a motion to approve with that correction, to that motion made by Shane stating as long as it's in the budget. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Shane, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chief, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Introduction of new staff.
You guys are up.
I'd just like to point out that I just got a message, the video hasn't started yet, so.
So, do I just tell you?
Go ahead.
So this is Garrett Langren. He's the new community health nurse on the Netlink side.
Come on up and
Come on up, Garrett.
shake her hand. Welcome aboard, Jared. Oh!
Really bad.
That's okay, welcome.
I'm glad my phone was over here.
Now we're gonna really remember it now.
Don't worry, Garrett, it's just water.
It's been a pleasure being employed here.
Welcome aboard, young man. That's okay,
I'm gonna have some of that.
no problem, Garrett. Terry, I have a question, can you come up to the mic first? Garrett will be working in both Netlink and Vermillion? No. Okay, can you explain what Garrett's?
So he will be working mostly in Netlink. He'll only be working in Vermillion if he has to cover.
Okay.
So majority of his time will be seeing elders, doing elder visits and being out in the community. So,
And not in Vermillion though?
no, because Terry Defoe does Vermillion.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So,
Just,
okay.
just make sure the water has some cover on it when he's up there.
Okay, Jennie. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm here today to request a resolution to a grant application for a transit facility. Last council meeting, we discussed the two special solicitation offerings from MNDOT, replacement buses, which we applied for, and then a transit facility, I believe that up to 1.25 million. We thought at that time that maybe we wouldn't apply because it requires a 20% match, would put it over $300,000, which isn't attainable. But after talking to Levi Brown, who is the MNDOT tribal liaison, he felt that there was several different ways that we could reach that match without worrying about not having, you can't match federal dollars with federal dollars, and so that's always a complication. And he said he has like 3 or 4 different really creative ideas. So if we are successful in the grant, there's about 3 or 4 different ways that we could bring our match up and accountable, with the last question of, we've made it this far, we're requesting an official waiver for the remainder.
So basically, it's like an in-kind match rather than a cash match. What are some of the creative ways of?
Well, he listed to me in his, when we spoke on the phone, he listed the value of the land in which the facility is placed, possible IHS water and sewer installation, local work, you know, if Joel's crew could push in the road, then that would count towards that in kind. If we could, you know, coordinate with other programs, and whatever they use, and then he said, continuing operations cost as a, I can't think of the word, depreciation of the building,
Okay,
so they could
Okay.
count towards it.
good.
So I thought, well, it's gonna be a crunch, so I'm gonna have to hustle and get this, because it's due on the 15th.
Okay.
So regarding the operation costs, what exactly do you mean by what's?
Continuing operation costs is like the way it was explained to me, because this is a new term for me also. It is the depreciation that is calculated by year for the life of the building. And I think the life of a building is 20 years. Kim's not here to help me.
Okay.
So you use that depreciation of the continuing cost of operating that building as a deduction, or as inclusive as part of the 20% match.
Okay.
And I see you have a resolution attached just saying that this authorizes you to apply for the MNDOT 2019 Public Transit Special Solicitation Capital Facility Grant Program to construct a transit facility, which we know is needed. And then also that the transportation program agrees to provide a local match of 20% of total capital costs. Basically, it's just giving you the authorization and then saying that if we do get it, we will come up with a way to meet the match.
Right,
Okay.
right. I think they want, it's an assurance that I'm just not applying for grants by myself. I'm doing it with your approval and.
Yep. Well, I've always been told you never know unless you ask or apply, so I think it's a good project. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution for the MNDOT grant application for construction of a transit facility?
Move.
Moved by Travis, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Shane, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Good morning, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. We'll let Dave know about it.
Kathy, your mic, you can check your mic.
My mic, oh, it's on. Can't hear me?
It says, Kathy's mic is off.
No, it's on.
Okay.
I'll pull it closer. Randy, if you wanna come on up.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Randy.
What I have before you is costs associated with redevelopment of the boisforte.com and Netlake Wild Rice websites. Currently, right now, they are long since overdue of need of redevelopment and restructuring. We've currently had problems with the Netlake Wild Rice website and are unable to update it and maintain it. I worked with 3 companies, W.A. Fisher, Art Unlimited out of Cook, and First Tribe, our current host.
Hold on, we're having some technical difficulties. Okay,
The least expensive was W.A. Fisher. And what I'm proposing is to take both of these websites and combine them into one site. But with that being said, also maintain both domain names, the boisforte.com website and the Netlake Wild Rice website. And what we'll do is take the Netlake Wild Rice website and redirect it to a small portion of the Bois Forte website. By doing so, it's going to allow us in the future to add products from the Heritage Center for sale online. I'm here to recommend that W.A. Fisher be picked to represent us for the redevelopment of this website, following, of course, the government shutdown. I have met with Kim, and we believe we have found funding to start this project.
I know it's on the agenda later, the government shutdown. And I know the website is somewhat, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's been there quite a long time now, and it does need some updating and revision. And I know that there were difficulties even getting access to the Wild Rice website this past fall. So I really feel it's a way to do that. Is there a way of somehow, you know, the government shutdown will affect tribes within the month. When do you plan on developing this or getting it started?
Started as soon as the government shutdown is resolved. It will probably be a 3 to 4 month project to redevelop these sites.
And this is tribal dollars that we're spending for
Yes.
this? And then what is the monthly payment going to be for?
The hosting fee will probably be a yearly estimate of around $200.
Okay. Yeah, I know, because when I worked at the radio station, we used W.A. Fisher's for the KBFT website, so, yeah, I like W.A. Fisher.
Yeah, secondary reason why I'd like to choose W.A. Fisher is it's going to be developed in a programming language that's easy for I and Louise and several other people to update without needing to outsource it.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Any other questions for Randy with regards for the website redevelopment for the tribal government and the Wild Rice sites?
I have a
Oh,
question.
Donna, go ahead.
I know Randy and I have talked about the Health and Human Services getting their own website too, so I guess my question is, if we go with this company, would we be able to link on similar to the Wild Rice?
Yes, yes, identical. As a matter of fact, I have preliminary estimates from you from W.A. Fisher, and I can present that to you later today.
I know that there have been other, I think Housing has their own website. Is that
Yes.
correct? Will that be able to all be the same, like Donna mentioned, to be linked in with this?
Yes, it will. The Heritage Center is identical.
Okay.
Yep. They were developed by external or separate companies, but that is something we'll be able to pull in as well.
Okay, go ahead, Sidra.
I'd like to also suggest that we had utilized USDA value-added producer grant dollars to explore some wild rice website updates. And so part of that grant was used to just do kind of some mock-ups of some websites. So we can share that information that we used or that we gathered in that grant with W.A. Fisher and kind of not reinvent the wheel on some things.
Okay, great.
One thing I guess I'd like to see with regards to this website is a lot of our codes and ordinances be on our
Yes.
policies
Yep.
for people to access, because we need to make sure that our tribal members and whoever wants to access has that opportunity to access those codes, ordinances, and policies.
Yep, matter of fact, I'd recommend during, several of the upcoming upper management meetings that the directors provide information specific to their programs that they would like to see on that website.
I think another thing too, for myself, and as a band member, I would want to know what my tribal leaders' salaries are, so I have no problem putting my salary on that website underneath my picture.
Okay.
Sure.
And then we'll be adding traditional and cultural artwork, and that you'll have input from people.
Yeah, I
in
will
regards to
definitely need input
Okay.
from that standpoint.
I think it's a great idea, right, and I think it's time to do that now.
Mhm.
It's been, like I said, it needs some updating,
Yep.
refreshing, let's put it that way. Do we have a motion to approve the agreement for website redevelopment for tribal government and Lake Wild Rice sites to W.A. Fisher in the amount of $13,820, which would be implemented after the government shutdown issue is resolved?
Move.
Moved by Travis. Seconded by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Good job, Randy. Thank you. Sidra? Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sidra.
What I have, what you have in front of you is a draft of a resolution for the 2019 ICDBG application. What this is stating is a dollar amount in the amount of $267,000 in the form of cash as leveraged resources for a new community facilities project in the form of a maintenance building here on the Vermilion community. Kevin's group has been in need of a new, bigger building to park his vehicles and do maintenance on the vehicles and whatnot. And we have been working with an architect in putting together preliminary plans and whatnot. The ICDBG does require a resolution that identifies an exact dollar amount rather than a percentage or an up to dollar amount. So it's really important that we hone in on that. I do have right now the max amount that we would ask for. And as I'm still fleshing out the budget, this dollar amount will probably change, but it will not go higher. So towards the end of the week, I will have the final resolution for actual signature, but I did want to present this and discuss this with you at the public meeting.
So when is this application due?
This application is actually due on Monday.
Oh.
Yep. This application, these usually have about a 45 to 60-day turnaround, and fabulously, this one was announced just before Thanksgiving. So not a really wonderful time during the holidays. So we've been doing some pretty, a lot of value engineering with the architect. The first model mock-up budget came in pretty high, well over $1 million. The ICDBG does fund $800,000, up to $800,000, and in order to get the max points in the leveraged portion, we do have to leverage at least 25%, which is why we typically ask for the max amount as far as the 25% goes.
When will this be? When will this ICDBG funding be released then if you're approved, or when will you know if you're approved for this?
The project period for the ICDBG is a September 1 start. So that this money would be required to be available for FY20. So at this point right now, we just need to resolve that the money that Bois Forte would make this money available. And at this point, we would need this money available for FY20.
Okay, when would you know if you were approved for the grant?
Typically, the rule of thumb is 90 days after the grant is due, but with the shutdown and everything, it's hard to say. Sometimes we wait until September. There have been times when we have been notified in September, so it pushes the project back, 2-3 months. Because ideally what we like to do is we like to find out, April, May, we like to find out in May and then do all of our paperwork and get our bidding ready so that we can start our project in September. But if we don't know if we're awarded, we don't do any bid, we don't do anything because we can't spend any money until then, until we, are for sure that we're getting the money. So it's always just completely up to when they let us know that we're awarded or not.
Sidra, just out of curiosity, what's the architectural firm you used?
Well, we used C.R. Meyer, Tim Meyer out of, I don't think he's called C.R. Meyer anymore. Meyer Group is what he's called now. And the reason that we used him on a basis of no pay. Because we can't spend any money right now, and we don't have any money to pay him to do the preliminary mock-ups and the preliminary budget estimates. And the reason that we used him was because he was the one that designed Joel's building up in Net Lake, his public works building, and built and designed that one, or didn't build it, but designed that one. And in speaking with Kevin, that was basically the same type of building that he wanted. So we also, knowing that we only had this dollar amount to work with this phase of the project, and knowing that we probably would want a little bit of a larger building than what this dollar amount can afford us, we are designing it in a way that we can expand somewhere down the line, and add bays, add a salt, what is that called? Salt sand thingy. Tent or whatever that is. And we're designing in such a way that we can add on in the future.
Okay.
But yet it's still very functional at this point. We also have spoken with Head Start, and they've also have been in need of a place to store their buses, and so would utilize a bay or a half a bay to store their buses in the winter for them. And unfortunately, they don't have any money to be able to, plunk into this, so it's just kind of a community.
Could that be used as an
Good faith.
in-kind contribution with Head Start somehow?
It could be, yeah, oh, absolutely. For Head Start, it could be, yeah.
Because there are certain requirements for Head Start. to
Head
have
Start needs in-kind.
contributions.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Where's the money gonna come from to keep the building functional?
That would come from Kevin's budget that he has now. The Vermilion facilities budget that he's got now.
Is that it's the same size as Joel's building or bigger?
It's the same, it's right now designed to be the same size.
Joel, how much does it cost for you to keep your building open and in operation, lights on, water going, telephone lines and everything per month?
Estimated.
Well, I would say heat is probably, in the wintertime, probably $700 a month, $800 a month. Electricity, just figure 12,000 a year. So, it'll probably be $30,000 a year to keep the building going.
What, do they have that in budget now?
That's a good question. I don't know that Kevin does, but what I can say is that the building that they're using now is terribly inefficient, and the ICDBG does require green standards and efficiency, energy efficiency has energy efficiency requirements. So lighting would be much more efficient. The whole building would be far more efficient than probably what that building is now. So what the plan is to not build a brand new building. We would renovate the current building, and it would be in that same footprint of, and we would add on to the current building. We did look at some other locations to place a brand new building, and there were a couple of different issues with that. Location over here on this side is at a premium. We have a lot of area, but a lot of it is real wet. And so our site work budgeting on several of the areas was very, very high. Upwards of $400,000 and $500,000 just to put dirt work in, which is why we kind of decided to go with renovating the current building and adding on to that. And it did decrease the cost about $120,000 by adding on to the current building and utilizing that building. Structurally, that building is okay. It's just ugly. And it's not functional inside right now.
Have you been working with Joel? I know one of the things that we're looking at is kind of reorganizing or restructuring the tribal government departments to include a workforce department, but also to mainstream some of our programs. So I know that with regards to the maintenance program, we've been talking about putting it under public works. Have you been working with Joel on this building?
I have not been working with Joel directly, but I've been working with Kevin on that.
I would suggest working with Joel, because that is one of the goals of the program, is to, or the government is to streamline our services better.
Okay.
So I would strongly suggest that.
Yeah, okay. And I know once we do get, once we get the grant and are successful in the grant and we do start actually designing for real the building, we'll definitely get into the nuts and bolts of things, and we'll most certainly work more closely with Joel on that.
Because I know that we initiated those discussions already with senior management, and it's a little harder than just doing it.
Spreading people
Yeah,
out.
putting people here and there, because it's complicated.
Mhm.
So I know that one of the future things, and I know Joel's discussed it with Kevin, is to have Kevin under Joel, so I think that would work a lot better.
Okay.
in that aspect.
I sure can. And I'll make sure then to discuss with Joel, and maybe I'll need to get your resume, Joel, and add you to the application as a primary person, potentially. And that'll just be a paragraph of you. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So the dollar amount on here will change.
The dollar amount will change, and it will be less than what the 267 is.
Okay. Just at this point, you don't know. You'll know for sure before Monday.
I'll know for sure by the end of the week. In fact, I just got an email from Tim on the final, not the final, but it will be the final, it has to be the final, budget estimate. And he's pretty confident on those numbers because he just built a very similar building on one of the other reservations, I think in Wisconsin or something. He just put up a very similar building, so he's pretty confident on the budget numbers. It's always difficult because when we estimate these buildings, sometimes it's 2 years until we build the building, and the construction costs go up, the materials costs go up or down or whatever. So it's always a little bit of a guessing game, but we always do the best that we can.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for the application, we need this resolution approving it, and then what we can do is probably make a motion to approve the resolution with an amendment that will be made to the dollar amount
By the end of the week.
by the end of the week.
Yep. Yep, so basically I'll go through the resolution, the final resolved resolutions portions. Be it resolved that you'll commit $267,000 in the form of cash, and again, that's going to be amended by the end of the week. That we certify that the band has met the participation requirements and has an approved operations and management plan in place. Be it further and finally resolved that the Bois Forte Reservation Tribal Council does hereby authorize its staff to prepare and submit a grant application. And these are just wordings that come from ICDBG, the grant application, the NOFA, and is required wording that has been in every resolution since 2009 that I've submitted applications, to construct a new maintenance facility in the Vermilion community of the Bois Forte Reservation.
Okay. Sidra, can you make sure that Joel has a copy of this?
I sure will, yep.
Do we have a motion to approve the resolution with the amendment to the $267,000? It will be a lesser amount. We just don't know at this time, which Sidra will have by the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Moved by Chief. Is there a second? Seconded by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose on the basis that we don't have everything in place. We had enough time to get the stuff in place, to get the numbers and everything like that, and it's just, we don't know what our budget's gonna be like next year. Money is tight. We keep making cuts and cuts and cuts. And if we don't have the money to cover the cost of the building, what then?
Okay.
So I just want to make that statement.
Okay. 3-1-0, silent, motion carried. Thank you, Sidra.
Be good.
Okay,
Government shutdown and
government shutdown. A lot of tribal members locally and I'm sure over across the state and the country are wondering about the government shutdown and how it's impacting the tribe. Just for everybody's information is tomorrow, the senior management and the tribal council will be meeting together to come up with a plan with regards to the government shutdown. As most of you know, the BIA and IHS are closed, and a lot of federal facilities are partial shutdown. BIA is also our law enforcement, and so we have a lot of things to come up with regards to services for our band members. And we'll be meeting with senior management tomorrow to come up with a plan. We will be able to operate at least until the 3rd week of January, possibly 4th, as is. However, if the government shutdown lasts longer than that, then we need a contingency plan with which to operate by. Senior management will be looking with them to come up with essential personnel if it lasts longer than the 3 to 4 weeks, and essential personnel so that services can still continue for our tribal members. And but we wanted to get that. I wanted to let everybody know that we are working on a plan. Once after tomorrow, I know that President Trump has invited the delegation of Democrats to the White House to discuss the border wall and his plans, because it all boils down to his approval or disapproval. We don't know what that will be, the unknown. Essential services to us is for number one would be health care, medical care, prescriptions, and other services that our senior management feels needs to be kept going. So we will be coming up with that plan, and we'll get it out to the tribal members on our website as soon as possible, and we will know more after meeting with our senior management tomorrow with regards to how things will be going. So I just wanted to mention that we do have a plan. A lot of tribes across the country have enough operating revenue to last until the 3rd week or 4th week of January. An article is coming out in the New York Times by Mitch Smith. We do have that article available where he's discussed with all the tribes. He talked with Aaron Payment, the chairman of the Michigan tribe, where they have enough money to operate till the 3rd week, and most of the other tribes are the same. And so, you know, the federal government does have a trust responsibility to the tribes, and they need to come together and work on this issue and come up with a solution, because it is going to affect our tribal members in a very bad way. So just so you know, we will be planning our meeting tomorrow, and we'll get that information out to all of you as soon as possible with regards to the government shutdown, because it will affect us if it lasts more than 3 to 4 weeks. The other issue that I have on the agenda is, oh, go ahead, Shane.
I want to talk, with my mic on, I did want to talk a little bit about the government shutdown, is that once we are going to put the plan in place, that we should meet with, have an all-staff meeting to let them know that, yeah, this is it, this is the next step. We are at that step, and people are going to be going home. They will be able to collect unemployment, I do believe.
Yes, we will be looking at possible layoffs, or if staff are willing to take a layoff. That's one of the things we're going to be discussing tomorrow. So that is a yes, and once they do take a layoff, they will be eligible for unemployment.
So I think that, you know, we need to take advantage of the situation. We need to start building a healthy financial reserve for the tribe and also Fortune Bay. I've stressed this numerous times, because a rainy day is coming, and it's coming soon. Who knows what happens in a couple of years from now? We got to start saving, period.
The other item on the agenda is the annual report. At our last meeting, the council had a discussion, and what we want to do is, first of all, we want to work together as a team, and we want to get an annual report out to the people, hopefully in February of 2019, depending on the government shutdown again, because we may be limited with our accounting staff, but we'll try to get things done as soon as possible. With regards to the annual report, The annual report was not submitted last year. We were going to submit a report that showed the funding from Fortune Bay and how it's been spent by the tribal government, that the funding we received from Fortune Bay. That report is close to being done. Every time our CFO goes to work on the report, we end up with a crisis or an issue arising that diverts her from putting her attention towards that report. And so that will be in our annual report this year. I know that we will also be showing the employment numbers. We will also be breaking down, hopefully, I think Kim was going to discuss with Miranda the possibility of breaking down our employment numbers, not just by band members, non-Indians, and other tribes, but also including descendants and those that have family members that are also have band members within the family, to give it a better breakdown. But we will be submitting an annual report. The council will work together to get that annual report out with our accounting department, with Fortune Bay, and so I did want to make sure that that will be in there. I know that Shane has a comment he would like to make also.
Some things that I've stressed before is that we need to give out an official report regarding Power Rain, Tim Hortons again, the Y Express Loop, WLY, all businesses that the band invested in and failed. You know, myself as a band member, I always wanted to see an official report, and I would like to see that, and I'm for that. I'd like that to be part of the annual report to the band members, and also the breakdown of Fortune Bay compared to previous years, as the financial reports that we've been getting through the email shows compared to 2017, 2016, kind of giving you a breakdown, show how they're doing. I'd like that available as well.
Mm-hmm. And we will be meeting with Fortune Bay staff and our accounting staff. Kim Greiner's also started to work on the report, and so we will have an annual report this year, and hopefully it will be signed by all the council members, because we did decide to come up with a plan for direction for the band. A few years ago, one thing that I know that we all agreed upon is that our substance use on the reservation has not been addressed, and that's one area that we are going to be focusing on in the future, as a lot of other tribes have declared a state of emergency. This was presented to the tribal council years ago. It wasn't acted on, and I don't understand why, but most other tribes have declared a state of emergency with regards to the opioid epidemic and also the substance use on the reservations, whether that be alcohol and drugs. We are doing things through the tribal codes. We're updating our tribal codes now. We are doing things with law enforcement. We've hired a new officer, Officer Miko, our drug dog. But as far as the people that have the addiction, we've done really absolutely nothing to support our tribal members that have this terrible addiction to these. So that's one area we're going to be focusing on, a direction we're going to take that we've agreed upon. And we'll be looking at that for 2019-20. But that's just an update with regards to the annual report. If any other council members would like to say anything, or Corey, go right ahead.
I just want to mention that
Yeah,
we do have an all-staff meeting regularly scheduled for January 9th.
Next Wednesday?
Yeah, so a week from now we'll be having a meeting.
Okay. We'll be discussing with staff then our plan for the government shutdown. Hopefully it'll be resolved before then, but it's also a good contingency plan to have in case of for emergency management also. So we'll still be discussing that plan with staff at that time, whether we need to or not.
Oh, I think that another thing too we need to point out is that, you know, when we're looking at the essential staff and non-essential, it doesn't mean that one is more important than the other. So don't get us wrong on that. Everybody's important to the tribal government. The positions that you work in, you are all important to us. So just keep that in mind. Thank you.
So with that, please, if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call or email us, And we will try to answer any questions we can. Until we have more information, we'll be moving forward. We are trying to be conservative, no excessive spending, and we're just trying to make ourselves be able to have the services at full force for as long as we can. So with that, any other business? Any other comments?
No.
Okay, call for a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Moved by Shane, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chief, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Thank you everybody for coming, Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully it'll be a good new year, we'll see.